What's up, everyone? Hope you're doing well. And as you can see, we're doing a whole new format for videos. This is the new format. As you can see, I'm recording this directly from the Discord. I just want to make this the focal point of what we focus on. So all new videos, we're kind of doing away with the green screen, although I can continue to play around with that a little bit. But we're just going to do this format from now on. And maybe I should get a little closer to this mic. And I don't know if you know, but for the other videos, I was standing because when I sit, I can get kind of sleepy and slouchy. So this will just force me to work on that a bit more, I think. But anyways, just to explain how this format will work in the future, I'm going to start putting content in this channel. And as you can see, I'm kind of going over a description of this. I'm going to upload topics, and then when I do a video, I'll straight from this list of things I've brought up to talk about, I'll make notes during the day, and then I'll cover them right here. And this way you'll have a visual. This way I'll be able to put the charts in here and everyone can have something to look at while we talk about what's going on in the world. And also, if you would like to check out another podcast that I started, because this is going to be mostly market stuff. I also have another podcast where I talk about just things going on in the world, kind of outside the numbers and company news. It's just a fun one. That's the new Spacing Out podcast. You can find that on Substack. It's also on Spotify now as well. I was playing around with the search algorithm. It looks like it's best to just look that up by my name. Spacing Out is actually a really popular title and podcast name, apparently. So maybe I should have dug into that more before I created that. But if you look up my name, I'm the only one. So, yay. And so let's talk about what's going to go on next week for the markets. Honestly, it looks like we're pretty much just having a technical bounce. Amazon blew out earnings. They're raising the Prime subscriptions to $129. And despite the supply chain issues, they actually did great. It was kind of surprising to see, but still pretty cool. I actually was kind of bearish into earnings, especially since they didn't report any Black Friday numbers or anything. Been a little bit quiet on that end, but nonetheless, market should rebound. Should have some eyes on Google. They're going to do that stock split. So, when it comes to these big tech companies, some of them got hit pretty hard. And I think as the market continues, after this technical bounce that I think we're still in this greater bearish trend. I think that'll start to bring prices back down. And what I'm really looking at is these big tech companies are holding these massive valuations, and I think they'll probably get hit last. So the thing that I really want to be cautious of is or the thing I want to be not cautious of, because I'm not really holding a lot of them, although I did decide to pick up some Google, which I probably will continue to hold through the stock split. Just because I feel like them and Microsoft are not going to really get hit by regulation much, which is something that I've iterated before, but something I've also heard confirmed on very other opinions from people on Twitter or YouTube. So I'm fine holding those safer names for now. Now, when this market starts coming down, I think a lot of these are going to get hit pretty hard, and it's just a good point to put out there, to keep that in mind, that I doubt these companies continue to be the cash safe havens that they have been, and it's especially important to think about what you want to cut back on or what cash you might want to build as we get this nice technical bounce, which creates some favorable exits depending on what you're holding. Nonetheless, I still think I love holding biotech for myself. Even through some of these depreciations, I just feel like there's so much opportunity in the space, especially with CRISPR. But IBX is still a great, if you want to catch all those companies in that portfolio. ARCG, I've cut my ARCG. Kathy Woods is putting too many companies in there, have nothing to do with biotech, and even some of the picks. I wanted to hold it because I feel like she stays on top of stuff. She has a good research team. I can't possibly track all that and track all the other things I do. So every once in a while, I like to reevaluate what they have in there. And there's just too many occasions where she throws in something that's just not correlated at all, which I think is irritating. The other thing, I guess, to touch on, besides the obvious turmoil going on, remember we had the Olympics going on, and Russia and China leaders were supposed to meet during this time period, so it'll be really interesting to see what occurs after this, although I think during this time period it might just be about the games, and we might even see less headlines during this time period. We've even seen Biden come out suddenly start talking about gun rights, so it's although we have had Gensler come out and say that they plan to make some finalizing changes on regulation and probably provide some more commentary on what they intend to do with interest rate hikes or and such. So we should continue to hear that conversation kind of play out. And there was a great video that I actually shared. If you're, as far as like inflation and stuff goes, I shared it with the contenders here. The All In podcast was really great. We had they had a guest, Ryan Peterson, spelled Petersen. That's kind of, I don't think I've ever heard Peterson spelled that way. Anyways, he decided to come on the show. He runs his own company that kind of helps with supply chains and just distribution. And they provide like a different technical support to help with efficiency. He was covering a lot of things that were new information to me, and I've kind of put some notes here just highlighting what he was talking about. And what really caught my attention was that next year there's an expectation that the shipping companies, or the ships rather, the specific ships, will lower their ESG by 16% in 2023 by 2023. Now, what's crazy to think about for that is that there's, and as he iterated in the video is, and I didn't even know that was something that the United Nations had incorporated and intended to enforce, was these drawdowns in ESG from individual ships. And it's crazy because it's literally impossible. So the only way, and he iterates this in the video, the only way that they can do that is to literally drive slower. So, or sail slower, which is ludicrous to think about, especially since the net impact that this truly has on the environment is just negligible. It's not even quantifiable. So really weird. He also provided insight to the fact that these ports are owned by cities. He focused a lot on the Portland port and the San Francisco port, and how these mayors who are in charge of these ports, basically the CEOs of the ports, are just not focused on them at all. They have no incentive to actually fix the issues that exist at these ports, and the metrics that the government uses to track the efficiency of these ports is how many ships are actually at the port. And so, but one of the other things that was incorporated for environmental reasons was that the ships had to stay a certain, like 150 yards away from the coast for the port. So what this does is it creates this effect where these ships sit right outside the length at which they will count them at actually being at the dock. So when the government is reporting numbers for how many ships are waiting to be unloaded, those numbers are completely nonsensical because most of the ships are sitting outside this specific length. And so this is something that I've heard before, and I think even something that we've talked about on YouTube. I just wasn't quite, I didn't have that information of why the ships had to be moved. So at first I thought, well, this is just clearly just fraud and just trying to move the ships off the shore. But now I see that it's actually, but when you think about that, you're like, how do they how would they get every single ship to participate in that? Was where my mind was at, because I'm not a very conspiratorial guy, and so now I know that there's just either incompetence, or maybe it actually was fraud, because it's way easier just to make a law to make those ships sit outside. Whichever one it is, it's obviously stupid. So that was interesting. And there's some other stuff in there. Of course, if you're in the Discord, you're getting these constant updates and stuff. I thought that was a great video. That was a lot of great insight. He talked for about 50 minutes almost on the topic. So if you want to check that out, the All In Podcast, episode 66, that was really informative. The other thing I want to talk about, though, is uranium. And so I am looking at when these, as you one of our most popular videos on this YouTube channel is the uranium deep dive that I did. And one of the things I said in that video was that I was expecting when these companies go to create their new contracts for uranium, since, like the ESG issues with the ships, like a lot of the decisions that are being made, we're pulling back on oil too fast, we're creating all these excessive energy effects and raising energy prices, and this is a global thing. This is not just the U.S. And so when I'm looking at all that, one, I think oil prices will be persistent and continue to be high, because the reality is going to hit us that it just will. I think before they let everything completely fall apart, they'll come to the realization that they've made a grave mistake, hopefully. And as that conversation incorporates, I think the big push for uranium and nuclear energy, because it's so obviously the best choice, will really start to incorporate. It really is just like an inevitability, as I've said before. So one of the things I'm looking at, though, is that these utility companies have not set up their new contracts yet. I was expecting a big push, and I was expecting that push to even come sooner than it has, but these companies are super delayed in doing this, and it can be seen in the futures for uranium prices. In fact, uranium providers are buying futures contracts expecting prices to go up. So even they are preparing for this. So I think, because the spot price has been fairly level, even though we've seen prices go up, a lot of this is because people are starting to catch on very slowly. And, you're seeing big social figures, Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro, now start to talk about nuclear energy and mention it, or not so much from maybe your quote-unquote left-leaning figures, but I think this will continue to, this is on the cusp of hitting the mainstream. Like if whatever you want to call mainstream, I guess Joe Rogan would be mainstream, so it is mainstream. Now that I think about it, because he kind of sets a news cycle now. But when they come to renew these contracts, they're not going to pay an average price higher than the spot price, which is the trading value of uranium. They'll have to average out higher than that, because remember, these contracts they're not just like a year-long contract. These are very extended contracts, and so you pay an average of what the price is presumed to be over that time period. Now, if we look at how the space is right now, there's no way to meet the demand, and we're probably going to have increased demand. So this is a very peculiar situation. So I'm becoming more and more bullish on uranium. I think I think it's just gonna be a great space. I think there's a huge bullish case for it, and just a continued bullish case for energy in general. I think gas right now is high. I expect that one to come down first, and then I expect oil to start to come down, and then I expect uranium to stay high for extended period of time, because you want to build a new mine. We're a decade out right now from any new mines. That means that's how long it takes to make a new mine. Keep in mind, the 1 in 50 mines are successful mines. So we're probably over a decade away from this space getting more supply, but we're already ramping up more demand. So that is something, keep that in mind. It's a perfect storm for just huge inflated uranium prices. So, and I have no expectation for where those will reach as of yet, although I'm sure in future episodes we'll continue to talk about this topic, because it'll be around for a minute. And I'm just super happy that we were able to be so early to it. I put out the first uranium report that I did almost a year ago now. Yeah, it's 10 and a half months ago. So super pumped. That's been one of the longs that's done really, really well. So let's talk about crypto to end this video out. So crypto's been bearish, and then it seemed to hit this technical bounce with the market. Kind of let it, actually. I was noticing on Friday, it felt like the S&P was following Bitcoin more than anything. I am worried about first of all, Bitcoin, as we've seen when the lira was debased to next to nothing and inflation was rampantly high, we saw people immediately run to Bitcoin as a safety, and we saw massive amounts of inflows. This does, in the past I've said inflation, deflation doesn't matter when it comes to the cryptocurrencies, and I still hold that, although I think inflation is the number one variable people are considering when they're losing faith in their government, because that's the main driver, I think, for the cryptocurrencies, is a lack of faith in institutions and a want to decentralize. And it's a very accessible safe haven, and it's easier than loading up on gold bars. You just buy Bitcoin. So I do think if considering the shipping things that we just went over, on one end, those suck. And it sucks that no one in the government is doing anything about it or discussing it whatsoever, and there's no real incentive to fix it. So that's concerning, and that could keep inflation high. Now, the other end of that is that these solutions, if someone competent actually decided they wanted to fix them, are actually extremely fixable. And remember, if you check out that podcast, they talk about that as well. But if these inflation prices stay high, let's say we get some more turmoil, social turmoil. Right now, there's this huge push against free speech, and that's big. And first they hit free speech because they said cancel Joe Rogan, which is basically canceling people sitting in a room and talking to one another. And then they are attacking gun rights again. So I guess they're just trying to create even more division than we already had. That, or they're trying to disrupt the news cycle. I don't think they'll succeed at that. Everyone's going to be caught up on and just really push back hard on these attempts to, I don't know, distract or whatever it is. It's the most propaganda thing I've ever seen. So if we get more turmoil from that, maybe crypto starts appreciating more as people start to lose faith in institutions and authority in general, which actually I think gives a huge bullish case to Spotify. I know the market's going to be really mean to different companies, especially those that are losing debt. I feel like Spotify is the new news source, and I think when Nike signed Kaepernick and for kneeling, and then after everyone was attacking him, that's when they took the opportunity to sign a massive deal with him. I think that type of baller move, type of counterculture move that you think represents something, a message that's greater, I think that's what Spotify's doing now. I think it's a super baller corporate and business move that you can make, is to say, I see where people are attacking and lashing right now, but I think as time goes, that we'll be on the right side of history, and then commit. And they hard committed to defending Joe Rogan. I think it's excellent move. On top of that, the news, you could see the news keep attacking him. Remember, the top news show gets about like 700,000 views. Joe Rogan averages 11 million views. He's more than 11 times bigger than the largest news channel segment. That is insanity. So he is the new news cycle, and I think training people to go there to figure out what's going on in the world, and to hear maybe Joe Rogan's perspectives, or whoever he has on the show, which I think is more of what people are looking for. They like him just as like a moderator, and is big. I think it will, one, bring more creators to the platform, to train people to go to that platform. And if Spotify can start incorporating more video for more people, maybe you see them start to even become a YouTube competitor. I think this really opens a gateway, and I think people are really undervaluing them having him on that platform. He's that superstar. You know, you saw Twitch gamers go from Twitch to anywhere else, no success. You see big YouTubers go from YouTube to anywhere else, no success. You see Joe Rogan go from YouTube to Spotify. It continues to climb in numbers, continues to maintain good viewership. I mean, it's very, very rare someone that's able to do that and not only continue to do well, but do even better. It's very impressive. And he's not even on the larger user base that exists with Apple. And I think it only boosted him more. You know, he's still even just getting he does the YouTube clips, and those still will get millions and millions of views frequently as well. So he's still maintaining some exposure in other areas, but, you know, bringing people to that platform, especially one that's free, even if you have Apple and you go to Apple for music, suddenly you're going to start using Spotify for, you know, the Joe Rogan podcast. And hey, if you're already using Spotify, I just think it's great. And I'm excited to see how that continues to build on itself and build momentum for the company. I think it's a great headwinds. So, like Uranium, we'll do another video maybe covering some more news that's been going on. Probably got to talk about the video game companies and the buyouts that have occurred there. And yeah, I'll see you on the next episode of the Nobel Show. I hope you like the new format. In the future, we'll have more visuals for you, and I hope you like the process. Let me know down in the comments down below, and hopefully the audio is good, because I have a new personal podcast, and the audio on the first episode was pretty mediocre, so hopefully this is set up the best way possible. Hope you enjoy. See you on the next episode. Have a great rest of your weekend.